Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I apologize for missing the previous speakers, but I really do feel very fortunate to be able to be here. It's an important event. But let me get straight into the topic that I'm supposed to speak about, which is the importance of our communities and their role in the field of mental health. We have a conception. The conception is mental health issues, mental health professionals, right? Like that's where I would send someone, right? That's our concept. I would like to challenge that concept. I think it's very much mistaken, not because mental health professionals don't have a role to play, they have a critical role to play in caring for mental health. That goes way beyond saying, I don't need to tell you that. You know, all our institutions, psychiatric wards, therapists, et cetera, pivotal to the care of mental health. However, generally speaking, a person with a mental health disorder will spend most of their time in the community. And as such, we have to ask ourselves, what can the community do? And what role can it play in helping people with mental health challenges? That's a question that I think we've asked ourselves to some extent, but I don't think we've really delved into it and understood the extent to which we can be there and we can help. But let me go back for a second, okay? I was introduced, I founded Maaglei Nefesh, which is, our Center for Halacha, Community and Mental Health. Before that, I wrote a book called Nefshī בשאלתי. I'm not trying to sell the book, I promise. But it's basically a book about halacha and mental health. I spent 4 years writing it together with Dr. Shmuel Harris, who runs Machon Dvir in Jerusalem. And the reason for that is that I could not find any such book anywhere else. And I thought that I was doing something of halachic importance when I put together that book, and then I went to poskim and I got their psakim and I put them in the book, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All this is not to talk about the book. All this is to say that the book had a much greater impact on the community than I could ever have imagined. Honestly, I thought I was writing a book on mental health the way rabbis write a book on tchelet or korbanot or the mikdash or any other halachic topic where they're interested in a halachic topic. They think it hasn't been, done to death enough, until that point. And so they write another book, this time I will have chidushim on a certain issue. Okay, good. Yeah. So then I wrote a book on mental health and halacha. Good for me. But the feedback that I got from the community was unbelievable. I was just in the UK and I visited London and Manchester. And in one of the places that I spoke, a woman came up to me, said to me, I don't want to tell you my name. I'd rather stay anonymous. I've been following you on social media almost from the beginning when you've been posting about mental health. And I want you to know that you literally saved my life. That's how she said it. She said literally, not figuratively, you literally saved my life. And it's an impactful thing to hear, but it's also an interesting thing to hear. How does halacha save lives? In other words, how does dealing with the field of mental health also improve people's mental health? Not just improve their shmirat halacha, not just improve their Torah and mitzvahs, but improve how they deal with mental health. That's an impactful thing to think about. But it's true, and I've seen it in my 6-7 years of dealing with it. I've seen it time and time again. Yesterday, I got a message from someone who said to me, I just wanted you to know, my 17-year-old has been suffering greatly in all kinds of ways. We went to a bookstore, she saw your book, she bought it, she keeps it by her bedside, and she dips into it once in a while, she reads it, and it makes her feel like she's not alone. Which once again is a very interesting thing to think about, right? How is this field so different that when you write about it halachically, that it suddenly changes how people can deal with their mental health challenges? And here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that when you halachicize, you destigmatize. And when you destigmatize, you normalize. Let me break that down, okay? When you halachicize, you destigmatize. We talk about stigma a lot. But if I stood here from this podium and I said a lot of nice things about mental health, and we really need to care for it, we need to be empathetic and this and that, and I said all those things. But when someone came to me and said, I'm suffering from depression or an eating disorder or anxiety or borderline personality disorder, and I suffer greatly on Shabbat, and I want you to know, parentheses, Shabbat is one of the hardest days for people with mental health. One of the hardest days. I cannot tell you how many times I have heard this. And I don't mean to be, I love Shabbat. I hope it's clear. I love Shabbos. I enjoy Shabbos very, very much. I have nothing bad to say about Shabbos. But people tell me, I hate Shabbos. I hate Shabbos. I'm like on Shpilkas already from like Wednesday or Thursday, from thinking about what Shabbos is going to be like. And it's like a real challenge to get through Shabbat. Shabbat is one of the hardest days of the week, and it comes back every week. And it's very difficult for people, sure. But the point is that, yes, people ask me, how do I get through Shabbat? Can I use my phone? Can I listen to music? Can I watch something? How do I get through it, right? If I stand here and I say nice things about mental health, but I can't give a good halachic answer to someone who's actually suffering, then I am perpetuating the stigma. Because if someone else called me and said, my doctor told me that I need to check my blood pressure every day, can I do it on Shabbos? I would say, of course. And it would take me about 2 seconds to answer that question. But when someone calls about using their phone on Shabbos, well, I don't know. We start to hem and haw, and I'm not sure what to do, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying the answer is yes. And even if the answer is yes, of course, you have to say it in a certain way. You have to figure out what the answer would be and how. My point is not to give the answer to the shaila. My point is that as rabbis, if we don't have answers to those shailas, if we're clear on physical health, but we're very unclear and vague on mental health, we're stigmatizing mental health. We're basically saying it's not as important as physical health. Let's be honest. It's not really. You can get through Shabbos. 25 hours you can't get through. You can't get through 25 hours without a phone. Like, wow, come on, I can do it. Okay, so good job. So you don't understand anything about depression. That's what that means. That's what that answer tells me. So in other words, when we halachicize, we make things real. Have you ever been to a shiur? Someone pulls out a medrash and then someone else says, it's just a medrash. I always feel bad for the midrashim. It's like it's Rabbi Akiva said something, like Rabbi Yeshua said something. It's just a medrash. Have you ever heard anyone say it's just a Mishnah Brura? No. It's a Mishnah Brura. You want to disagree with the Mishnah Brura? You better bring some game, You bring a Reb Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, bring a Reb Moshe Feinstein, bring something heavy, if you want to disagree with the Mishnah Brura. Yeah. Halacha is the dynamite of Judaism. It is the one field where we can't afford to be flippant, where we can't afford to be cholek. We can't say, well, I disagree. You can't disagree. You can't disagree with the halacha. You have to do the halacha. That's what you have to do. So if that's true, then what halacha does is it makes things real. And when it makes things real, it destigmatizes them. If I tell a woman that she can drive or be driven on Shabbat because she's giving birth to the hospital, that is not just a halachic statement. It's a statement that tells her, I get you. I understand what's happening to you. I understand what you need. I understand where you're going with this. That's what that statement makes. It makes a person feel good. I've never heard, maybe someone here has. I've never heard a woman say, feel so bad, I was Mechal Shabbos because I went to give birth in the hospital on Shabbos. No one ever feels bad about it. It's fine. We all do it. Why not? What's the problem with doing it? That's the halacha. I'm supposed to do those things. Sure. Yeah. That's the point. If we halachicize, we destigmatize. And when we destigmatize, we normalize. That's the point that I want to make here today. I'm a rabbi. Fine, so I do things with my halachic knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not a mental health professional. To be very, very clear, yes, I sat together with Dr. Harris for 4 years. I know a thing or two about mental health. Okay. I am not a mental health professional. I have no degrees in this field. And yet I feel like I can do a world of good with the tools that I have for people with mental health challenges. And my point is that every single person here can do the same. If I have tools, you have tools. I once gave a shiur to Bet Shemesh, we call them the 55 plus group. I don't know what you call them other places. They get together once every X amount of time, right? And they asked me to give them a shir. So fine, so I came, spoke about mental health and about the challenges in the community, etc. Ex-rabbi raised his hand and said, I want to say something. I said, okay, please. He said, when I was a rabbi, so in our community, before Yom Kippur, we put a table out, we put little cups of orange juice, and above the table we put a sign. It said, "V'nishmartem me'od nafshotechem." If your doctor says that you need to eat or drink, on Yom Kippur, you must do so, etc., etc. I said to him, it's a very nice story, but if I, in the lobby, put a table and put little cups of orange juice, and I said, if you have anorexia, feel free no one's going to get anywhere near that table. We're not anywhere close to normalizing mental health in our communities. People do not feel comfortable to talk about those things and to get the help that they need and the recognition that they need in order to get that help. Look, I always say, our communities are experts at chesed. Really, we've been doing it for so many years, for hundreds of years. We have gemachim, it's unbelievable. We do chesed like pros. Really, the organizations are it blows your mind. I'm not even talking on like a national level, I'm talking on a communal level within the community. I have 5 children, Baruch Hashem. A woman gives birth, she has meals for a month, the kids are taken to school, to their chugim, etc. They take care of this, they take care of that. We are good at this when we know what to do, When we don't know what to do, we're terrible. And it hurts twice. Because everyone else is getting and I'm not getting. Right? So we can do chesed. But when someone with a mental health challenge is in the community, they don't get that help because they don't feel comfortable coming forwards. Look, a lot of people say, I just don't know who it is. They won't come forward. They won't say, what are we supposed to do? So I have a few answers to that question. Okay? But my main answer is this. First of all, as communities, we need to instigate. We need to instigate. I have shocking news for everyone here. You're not going to see this on your weekly page from the community. It's not going to be like so-and-so got married, so-and-so lost a parent, and so-and-so has depression, please help them. That's not going to be on the page. All right? No. People with mental health challenges will not come forwards on their own. We need to instigate. Some people say, oh, he's the mental health rabbi. How did I become the mental health rabbi? How did that happen? It didn't happen because people came to me with 1 million shilas. Probably in the 13 years, before the last 7 years that I've been a rabbi, I probably got as many shilas as I now get in a week. So there are a lot of shilas out there that aren't being asked. But the point is that the way I got to the place where people know me is that I instigated. Because I posted again and again and again and again and again on Facebook, on social media, and I made it known that I was interested to help and to be there for people, and that's how they knew that I was out there. That's how. The shul cannot wait, the community cannot wait for people to come forwards. They won't come forwards. They won't come forwards because they feel uncomfortable, because they don't know what you'll say, because people feel awkward when they see someone with anxiety or depression or OCD. They don't know what to say to that person. They're like, I'll just ignore. I won't say anything. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Okay, I understand you don't want to be awkward. Then what happens? No one asks that person how they're doing. Then what happens? They feel like they're transparent, like they're invisible. The community doesn't see them. They feel like they're nothing. They're air. Everyone else gets attention. The person who had the heart attack, the woman who gave birth, the guy who's getting a bit older and maybe needs help in the house, etc., etc. Everybody gets attention. But I don't, because I have an eating disorder. I'm bulimic. So now, no one's going to know what's going on with me because I'm not going to say I have bulimia. That's just not something you tell people. Okay? So then what happens? They don't get the help. We need to instigate. You have to understand that. What does that mean? It could mean a lot of things. You could put it on your weekly email. For example, whatever goes out to the community, you can designate an individual within the community who can be that point person, could be the secret keeper of the community. And I want to be very, very clear. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, but maybe no one will reach out to that person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let me tell you a little story, all right? My mother-in-law passed away, I think it was three years ago now. She passed away in the middle of Corona. She had a stroke. She deteriorated over time. And in the last few months, she was suffering from dementia. And sitting by her bedside was decidedly uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. She would shout out. She would say the same word over and over and over again. She wouldn't make any sense. You couldn't have a proper conversation with her. Even when something was bothering her, she couldn't really say what was bothering her and how. But we loved her, and we sat there, and we wanted to be with her. But here's the point. I didn't get a feedback. I didn't get a pat on my back. She didn't say to me, thanks, Yoni, thanks for coming. It was really great to have you here. But I don't know what she was thinking, right? I couldn't communicate with her. I couldn't know what she was thinking. But I'm betting that my coming, not only me, my wife and my kids, coming to see her and sitting there, I bet it meant something to her. She couldn't say it. She wasn't able to voice it. But I bet it did. I bet she knew. And that's how it is with mental health. If someone is in your community and they see that on your weekly email it goes out to say, if someone has a problem, they can come to this person, they may not want to reveal who they are and talk to that person, but they're happy that that message went out. Someone's thinking about me. Someone cares. Someone actually they may not be able to voice it. Just like my mother-in-law couldn't tell me that it meant something to her that I came and sat by her. So what? Here's the thing with mental health. No ego. Don't expect feedback. When you come to someone who has a physical health issue, a lot of times you get that good feedback. Thanks for coming, etc. You're not going to get that with mental health a lot of times. I don't get it most times. Most times you help people, they're just struggling to deal with whatever they're dealing with. They don't have time for you to say thank you and really appreciate it and all that stuff. That's okay. It's not about us. It's about them. It's about helping out. It's about being there. We as a community need to learn to be there for people even when we don't get the automatic feedback. We need to learn to be there to instigate mental health issues within the community without having the immediate, oh, this really made an impact. You won't always know if it made an impact immediately. You'll have to wait sometimes. That's how it works with mental health. Those are the kinds of things that we can do. I think that the other thing that I want you to understand is that mental health, dealing with mental health in our communities, is uncomfortable. Sometimes I talk to communities and I say, who here wants to help with mental health? And people say, oh, me. Everybody does. Who doesn't? Seriously, you're all good people. It makes sense. But then I say to people, do you understand that helping out and making your community more accessible means giving up something? Do you understand that there's a sacrifice involved? And then people are like, oh, what do you mean by that? So then I usually tell a story that you all know, right? I'm fond of the Baal Shem Tov story of the little kid who walks in on Yom Kippur. Usually, it's like Ne'ilah time. He whistles or he has a flute. You know what I'm talking about? The kid comes in. He doesn't know how to daven, right? So let's go with the version that he whistles, okay? So he doesn't know how to daven, so he whistles instead. And everybody shushes him. And the Baal Shem Tov shushes them, and he says, no. That's the way the kid knows how to pray to Hashem. Let him do his thing. It's a beautiful story, except for one little problem. We're the community in that story, right? Like, how about in your shul? If someone came in during the Eilah and started whistling, what would you do? You'd judge him, right? I assume you wouldn't be like, hey, let the kid whistle. No, you'd be like, there's a chazan right now. He's doing his thing. You need to go outside. Somebody take that kid outside, right? That's what you'd say. We like the story, we just don't want it to happen in our shul. Let's put it that way. It's a great story. Someone else, though. Just the other shul. Let the kid whistle in the other shul. I'll put it to you differently. Someone went home that year from the Baal Shem Tov's shul and said to his wife, I am never going back there again. There was a kid standing next to me the whole time whistling. I can't do that. I'm not ridiculous. I am not going back there. It's all very nice to tell a story. It's a little bit different to live the story. Are you willing for a kid with ADHD to sit next to you in shul and play with a spinner, even though it's not decorum, but it'll be the difference between him sitting there for 10 minutes and sitting there for 30 minutes? Are you willing for the fellow with dementia to be sitting next to you and once in a while get confused during davening or shout out because he doesn't know what's happening or whatever it is, just so that you can keep him within the community and make space for him? It'll take sacrifice. I'm not advocating that shul should become chaos. I'm not saying that someone should open up like a Monopoly game on the bima, you know what I'm saying? That's not where I'm going with this. Obviously, there should be a basic level of decorum in shul. No one's saying otherwise, all right? That's obvious. However, can we expand a little bit what we're willing to accept and to have in order to make space for people who are challenged in certain ways? That is putting our money where our mouth is. That is normalizing the situation. That's what really matters. We can talk till we're blue in the face about how important mental health is. But when I do my halachic work, what I'm saying is, let's do something practical about this. And that's why it saves lives. That's why it's so important to people, because they feel seen. They really feel seen. And we can do that in our communities too with the little things like this. Like making it known that we invite people with ADHD or dementia to shul. Like making it known that there's a person who's willing to field questions or issues that people might have. And by the way, some people say, what do families need? The answer is, every family is different. That's what I've learned. Every family is different. Some families need, and from week to week they're different. Some weeks they need a meal, some weeks they need to take care of the kids, some weeks other things. There could be all kinds of needs that a family might have. And if we have a point person in the community, that could help. But the point is to normalize, and with this I will end. This is the last point that I want to make. What you need to understand, and this actually is the essential point, maybe I should have started with this, is that I said when you destigmatize, you normalize. That is actually the goal of our communities, to normalize. What do I mean? When someone goes to, if someone is in the psychiatric ward, do they feel normal or not normal? Not normal. Even when they go to a therapist, a lot of times they feel like, oh, something's wrong with me. When I was in California, I was in San Diego, so I gave this talk in a classroom. One of the students said, here in California, we all have therapists. It's not weird. But besides that point, except for California, yeah, I would say that when a person goes to a therapist, they might feel a little bit like something's wrong with them. But when someone goes to shul, they're supposed to feel like something's right with them. When someone is in the community, that's where they live. That's where they are. That's where they're building their entire routine. That's where they're supposed to feel good, right? So yes, once a week, twice a week, yes, they go to a therapist, they see who they need to see, and sure, at that point, they feel like, I need to heal myself, I need to get normal again, I need to do this, and whatever it is that they feel. But in our communities, what we need to do is not make them feel like a pariah, not make them feel like they're second-class citizens. We need to make them feel first class. And I'll give you one shaila just to show you how I do it in my field, and with that I will end. But the normalization point is, to me, pivotal. That's what we need to do. Make people feel like first-class citizens in their own communities. Make people feel like they're welcome. Make people feel like they're part of the community, like they're like we can't do without them. When I give a psak about anorexia and Yom Kippur, many times with anorexia and Yom Kippur, the psak is not to fast, period. Can't fast, cannot fast. It's one of the hardest things for people to hear, not just with mental health in general. If there's anyone here who has not fasted on Yom Kippur, you know how hard it is. It's a difficult thing. Usually there's some haggling going on, you know what I'm talking about? Sometimes when I talk to people who are elderly, I'll just do the nighttime. I'll start and see how I feel. Like this back and forth. The doctor says you shouldn't fast. No, I'll start. You have to convince people. There was once a girl in Midrashah. She described her experience to me. She had anorexia. She said, imagine it. We're in a seminary here. Imagine, you know how it is, like the power, the energy, right, of 150, 200, 300 girls, in one place, Yom Kippur. It must be exhilarating, impactful, inspirational. Everyone's davening together, singing together, being together, and she's in the dormitory eating. How does that feel? Does that feel like you're a first-class citizen? No. Feels like you're second class, maybe third class. Feels bad, feels terrible. Doesn't feel good. When I give rulings, psakim, to people about fasting on Yom Kippur, eating on Yom Kippur, the effort to normalize that is the main effort. I speak to people sometimes for an hour and a half on the phone, not to tell them the psak. That takes 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then there's another hour of them crying and telling me that how could they do this? How could they eat? And Hashem is going to be so mad at them, and et cetera, et cetera. All this stuff. It's very hard to see yourself as a first-class citizen when you're asked to do something like that. So what do I tell them? I'll give an example. I say many things, but here's one of the things that I say. I say, after Ma'av Esrim, when you and I go to Shemaim, Hashem is going to look through my log, and he's going to say, okay, let's see what you did. Yom Kippur 2024. You fasted. Nice job. I'll be like, thanks. Yeah, that's what I would say. And then after that, I say to the girl, he'll look through your log. And he'll say, here, Yom Kippur 2024, you saved a life. Yours. So I on Yom Kippur fasted. You saved a life. Who do you think is going to heaven? Me or you? Which one of us you think has a greater chalik in Olam Haba? The person who saved a life on Yom Kippur or the person who fasted on Yom Kippur? What happened here? My answer made her a first-class citizen. It's no longer, you're a nebuch, poor person, you can't fast, you have to eat because you're sick, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you go eat, do what you have to do. What can you do? No, we're both doing mitzvahs. I'm doing a mitzvah, you're doing a mitzvah, and your mitzvah is not just as important as mine, maybe even more important than mine. Now we flip the tables. Now it's different. That's the kind of thing we need to do in our communities. We need to reimagine what mental health discussions look like. We need to reimagine what proper discourse in this field is to make people feel comfortable and at home in their own communities. When people can come to our shuls, when people can come to their shuls, when people can come into their own communities and feel comfortable, that's when we'll know that we've made it. Thank you so much.